Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Coming at you from New York, from our hotel. Let's get right into it. It's going to be a short show today because I got to go to an event for Proof. You know how it goes when you're traveling, but still, we're gonna talk about all the important stuff going on right now. Give you a basic overview of the market, a couple projects, some art sales. That's what we're going to do. Let's get right into it. Starting with the market overview. Volume's down a fair bit yesterday, probably because you didn't have quite as much wrap CryptoPunk trading. You can see a fair bit of looks rare volume was done. That's because Dingling, an advisor, who even knows his role? He's got a role there. We don't know exactly what it is, but he did a bunch of Azuki trades, which we're going to talk about later, and he did those all on looks rare. Large cap index was down a little bit yesterday in ETH terms, but if you look in US dollar terms, we all know ETH broke 2,000 US dollars. So in US dollar terms, we're up a fair bit versus yesterday. Again, we don't want to be flat in US dollar terms. If ETH is up, we want our NFTs to be up. So I don't know if this is the celebration to have, but at least it's nice to see that in US dollar terms, not down quite as much as we are in ETH terms. In terms of where that movement was, most of the positive energy was in Azuki. We will talk about that. And then Bored Ape Yacht Club down 6%, Coda down 5%. That whole ecosystem showed a fair bit of weakness yesterday. Mid-cap index was also down a fair bit. Some strength in Quirky, Psychedelics and Non, and weakness in Cyber Brokers and VV Checks. Return on flips, a little bit weak yesterday, a little bit stronger today. Where did the weakness and the strength come from? Nakamigos continues to be the place where people are making the most money trading. Potatoes, beans, Azuki, all strong. Whereas Clonex and Doodles have really been in this kind of negative blur cycle. Airdrop farmers selling big numbers of NFTs to each other, and it's been hard to get out of that cycle. So some weakness there. Bored Ape Yacht Club, you can't really see it on this chart, but the floor on Blur went down to about 52 ETH. Franklin sold a few apes, piled on to a couple other things, just led to a little bit of negative momentum in that project. In terms of art projects, saw 2 Fidenza sales. We'll look at those. Chromie Squiggles, Genesis by Claire Silver. That was all that did more than 10 ETH of volume. Let's look at those art block sales. First, you had a Fidenza sell for 50 WETH. Okay, we've seen sales in the 50s. 50 was quite low, but then we also saw one for 82,000 USDC, which given the strong ETH is worth 41 ETH. So 41 Ethereum Fidenza sale, really quite low for that project. But we've just seen this gradual move lower where almost all these sales are people hitting the bids that are out there. There was a Harvest that sold for 7 ETH. Pretty nice sale for that project. And then a Fontana by Harvey Rayner Pattern.co for 4.2 ETH, which is a great sale for that project based on where the floor is. In terms of that, we're just going to jump straight to notable sales, talk about some art sales and a couple PFPs. We're not going to do the big stories today just because we're a little bit short on time. And there's not a whole lot of action going on in NFTs right now. It's a little bit quiet on the news front. Azuki Triple Fire sold for 320 ETH. This is the second biggest Azuki sale of all time. Okay. Grails have been completely moving in Azuki lately. Grails have always been moving. And I think you have a situation here where there are a handful of whales who are just involved in this market. And over the past couple of weeks, we have seen new whales get involved. We know that Memeland bought one. Kungs has been buying. And then the buyer here is a guy named Free Lunch Capital, Pimp Capital, at Pimp Capital. And he has just become a huge player on the Azuki scene. Here he says, thank you, Dingling and EB7. Eric, as we know, is a broker for this historical sale. I don't need to do much explaining. Fire is fire. This is a triple fire. Fire background, fire hair, fire orb, fire eye. There's just a lot of fire going on there. This is a huge sale for him. He bought it from Dingling. Now, let's look a little bit into who Pimp Capital is. Now, Pimp Capital kind of got big building out a massive bag of DGODs. Okay, and it's a bunch of one-on-ones. This is just a picture, a screenshot I took of what his bag is. He has a lot more DGODs, probably one of the biggest whales in DGODs. And then he recently decided to get involved in Azuki. And if you look at the Azukis he owns, like this guy, he owns everything. And there have been a lot of, there was an Azuki Spirit sale yesterday for 245 ETH when there was one listed at 200. There was a golden skateboard sale for, 200 ETH, 190 ETH, really high price. When there were other golden skateboards listed for 100, this guy finds the ones that he aesthetically likes and he buys those. And he's really building probably one of the best Azuki bags that there is. If you look at the seller was Dingling. Dingling, we know, is the biggest ape holder, I believe, one of the biggest Azuki holders, and he sold that. He also sold another Grail. And what he did with that money was he went and bought 30 Azukis. So what you have in this situation now is a bit of this trickle-down effect where these big whales, are selling to each other, are getting liquidity and using that liquidity to go buy the floor. And you saw the Azuki floor go up 8% yesterday, not 8 ETH, 8%. The other thing that's happening, I think this chart's pretty interesting. I got this from my friends over at DGens Finance. This chart looks at unique holders of Azuki, and you can see it's gone from something like 5,000 to 4,750. And that's, I think, on the back of whale accumulation, as well as just the overall trend that we've seen with Blur, where, people who hold one, who hold two are dumping into bids and the airdrop farmers are getting less. You've really seen a big decline in unique holders for Azuki. I'm not sure that matters. I'm really not sure. I don't think there's a whole lot of statistical evidence that says a higher or lower holder count kind of when you're in these ranges makes a huge difference for floor prices, but certainly you're getting a bit more concentrated positions, as you can see from this chart. Next sale to talk about is You the Real MVP. You the Real MVP sold for 58.69 ETH. This is the highest of all time for You the Real MVP. For those of you who don't know, You the Real MVP is kind of the top tier collection for the meme land ecosystem. So as he says, the economy class, that's potatoes. The business class, that is captains. And the first class is You the Real MVP. I think there are 420 of these, something like that, less than 500. Sold them for 5 ETH. They didn't even sell out, but now they've completely rocketed in price. If you look at the past week, you've had multiple sales above 50 ETH for this project. And as we know, Dingling, who I just talked about, has swept a lot. He did a trade for a whole collection of meme land, really deploying his capital into this collection. I think what's happening here is that meme land is going to launch a coin. They're going to launch a token. Like, Ray has been very open about that. And they're based in Hong Kong. And when you're based in Hong Kong, regulatory scrutiny is a little bit less. It's easier to get out and put out a token. And I think they're going to be able to do it. And meme land also owns 9gag. And 9gag has a massive distribution, of viral video content, whatever they do. And through that, you have a pretty big audience for this coin. People who like that site, who like that platform, like that team, but can't afford these expensive NFTs. Maybe they want the token. So I think that people right now are positioning for these assets that will get them the most meme coin down the road. Congrats to people involved there. Here's the floor price chart for You the Real MVP. You can see, when they're only 420, it's a pretty illiquid chart, but, currently see that floor well above 60 ETH. So a higher floor than both CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Clubs. A little bit less supply, but still fun to talk about stats like that. And let's talk about one art sale. Okay, there have not been a lot of art sales lately. On Super Rare, very few sales above 5 ETH. But I pulled this one out here as a 3.3 ETH sale, a piece called Sky Mall Gear City. A bit of a video. If you actually go to the Super Rare site, you can check that out. The artist is called Yukayu. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. She's had a bunch of sales on Foundation and Super Rare in this 3 to 4 ETH range. Very similar look and feel. One of the things we have talked about is that consistency in art form can often work for you. And I think that that's what this artist is going for. The artist is based in Italy, I believe, but interesting to see that. Congrats to the artist. Congrats to the buyer on this sale. The artist also has a fair number of additions. So if you like this look and feel, if you're into the pastels, if this is what you want, here are some additions that you can go ahead and buy. And they're, below 0.06 ETH. So really affordable stuff in the scheme of things in the JPEG game. That's all from me today. I know it's a bit of a shorter show, but being in New York, we got a big schedule here. It's a little bit harder to do all the research I like to do for the show, but we're going to keep delivering. I tell you, we will be here every weekday, except for the very few ones where I'm like way too sick or way too traveling. We will be here. I hope you like the show. If you do like it below, give us a comment, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Have a great day.